Hello friends, I'm Jeanette and you're visiting the Neal's Homestead. Today I'm driving down the driveway to the road where I know that there are some elderberries growing. We have elderberries all over the place and my eye seems to be trained to find them while we're driving down the road. Oh look, there's an elderberry patch. Oh look, there's an elderberry patch. And I know old guy's kind of tired of hearing about it probably, but he tolerates me pretty good. I've wanted to take cuttings and I just haven't been doing it. And it just kept getting later and later. So I was following a thread on Facebook where somebody says they think you can do it in July. So I actually looked up on the internet with the extension office in Missouri, and they said you can do it till July the 15th. So that gave me a little bit more reassurance. So I decided I'm going to do it. It's really weedy down here where I'm going to do it, and I've got my long sleeves on. I put my rubber boots on. And I even sprayed some insect repellent on myself because we live in pretty severe tick territory. So I'm at the bottom of our driveway now. See that white spot directly across there? That's part of an elderberry patch that is actually on our property. The way our property sits, part of our land is actually on the other side of the road because there's a curve that comes along here, and this road right in front of our house is not straight with the world. It's not directly north and south. So let's get out and go over there and look. This is part of why I haven't come out here and done anything, because this is just like solid weeds out here, and I'm a little bit scared of going in places like this. This is kind of interesting right here, how the grass and weeds are all mashed down. I expect that's probably a place that deer or some other kind of animal comes through. This would definitely be a better job to do in the time of year that everything's dead, or dormant, I guess. I've got grapevines out here, poison ivy, something that looks kind of like raspberries, and morning glories. You know what, I'm not going to go over there and pick that big bush, even though I really want it. I'm going to walk up here a little bit, and there are some just right along the side of the road that I don't even have to go out into the weeds for. Right there. Those aren't as big, the flowers aren't as big, but I believe that that would be a good place to take some. Elderberries kind of like to grow in damp areas, and there's a creek running right through there, and right up at the top is that elderberry bush that I can get a lot of cuttings off of very quickly for now. Fortunately, our road is not heavily traveled, and so nobody's going to be going by here and dusting me, I hope, or looking at me funny because I've got a camera out while I'm messing with weeds by the side of the road. Last week we picked up this little Spider-Man bucket at a garage sale, so that works pretty good for what I'm going to do. I've brought along a little X-Acto type knife, and this is what I'm going to use. There were several bloomed out heads on this plant, but I knew that it wouldn't be a good idea to take a stalk that had blossoms on it. So I chose to take new growth off, and I used my knife making an angle cut, and then I just put my cuttings in my little basket to take back to my house. In the background you can hear the stealth bomber coming through, so I was able to get a little bit of a picture of it on video. This area down here actually grows pretty good elderberries, and there are a couple things against it. Is it's right on the road, so it gets dusty all the time, and also the county comes through and mows them all down. About the time they're through blooming, then they come and they all just disappear because they get mowed down, which needs to happen. We can't have them growing here all the time and everything getting so bushy on the side of the road. So it's just the way it is. So I need to get some growing on my own place so I can have some. I got my little bucket full. I don't know exactly how many I have, but I better get them to the house. It's really hot and sunny down here, and get them into some water. So I'm back to the house, and I'm trying to work quickly so that I can go ahead and get them in water. They're already wilting down some because it's hot out here and the sun is really strong. I misted them with a little bit of water just so the surface of their leaves can stay hydrated. I've got a wide mouth jar that I'm going to put them in. I've had a little bit of experience taking cuttings of things, so I know that I'm going to cut off most of the leaves because the leaves take a lot of energy from the plant to try to stay alive. So I'm going to try to eliminate as much of that as I can, and I will just leave this little bit up here on top that's actually wilting down a lot, and then I'll just put that in the water. The information that I looked at said to put the plants in the sun, but that kind of goes against my grain and what I think I know about propagating by cuttings. And so at first I'm not going to heed that. I'm going to leave them in the shade. It's perhaps okay if you're doing that in the spring when the sun is not so strong, but right now I think that they would just wilt them down to nothing, to deadness. I have no idea if this is going to work or not, but it doesn't cost me anything to try it, and I want to do it. And if it doesn't work, then what I'm going to do is in January or maybe December, I'll go down there and take hardwood cuttings. These are considered softwood cuttings, and I thought that I could have a little more success with them right now because they're more new growth, not old hard growth that is generally harder to get to root than new growth is. Just to remind you, I've cut them all at an angle because that increases the surface of that they can draw water up through. I've got them all trimmed. I put them in a jar. I'll maintain the water up to about that level. It's said that you should let about half the stem be underwater. I'll change that out a couple times a week, maybe every other day, to make sure it's nice and fresh and it doesn't go stagnant on me. And then I have a spray bottle that I will often, probably several times a day, mist the plant material because the humidity is supposed to stay high. Outside right now, the humidity is very high, and I'm going to have them growing right here on my patio in the shade all the time and in a fairly humid environment. So if they're going to do any good being cut in July and go ahead and sprout, then they ought to have the best chance on my patio here. And we'll just see what happens. I'll fill you in later. Well, thanks for joining me on this little experiment, and we'll just see how it goes. I don't know if it'll be successful or not, but I like to experiment. I'll see you next time.